Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tesla had a great day today. Here in this video, I will explain what I see as coming next for Tesla, a risk over this weekend, as well with Trump and Putin's meeting that is tentatively scheduled for next week. It seems obvious that there's going to be delayed tariffs on Russia, but there is always the possibility that those talks fall through and tariffs are put on countries like China. So we'll talk about that a little bit here in this video, but I do think what Trump said today is very interesting about the court shutting down his tariffs. Now, we'll discuss what that means, how that could affect markets as well in this video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Check out that link down below in the description of this video. Now over 100 different members, and what we are doing over there is going out, finding those under the radar AI stocks, investing in them before Wall Street figures out the opportunity. Believe it or not, you can have a company that is 40% owned by insiders and the board, 5% owned by Wall Street, growing at thousands of percents a year, nearly profitable, beating all of their own set guidance, and Wall Street still does not know about them, okay? This happens for a couple of reasons. It could be a de-SPAC. It could be, the fact that it's a smaller company, that retail hasn't picked up yet on these opportunities yet. Can be many different things, but for one reason or another, that is where I see the most opportunity and the best risk to reward in this market, besides something obviously like a Tesla. So check out that link down below in the description of this video if you have not done so already, and on to today's episode. So first and foremost, Tesla had a great day today. Wasn't surprising to see yesterday. I was predicting this because of the option activity we were seeing from hedge funds and institutions, the amount of shares that were being covered by these hedge funds and institutions as well just continues every day, like hundreds of thousands of shares that are being covered. It wasn't a huge surprise to wake up and see the news that we had today. And the news essentially was Tesla has gotten a license to operate robotaxis in Texas. Now, there's been news in recent days that potentially Tesla is going to start launching in other areas, San Francisco as one of them, but other validation vehicles have been spotted in areas close to Austin, Texas, like Georgetown, for an example. And odds are we're going to continue to get some good news on robotaxi and the plans on expansion. And really, ever since Tesla earnings, Wall Street got a lot more bullish on Tesla. Now, this comes at a very interesting moment where, hey, we're butting into a weak period seasonally for markets, as stocks have generally done pretty well. So could there be some volatility, some chop? I think so. In fact, I was calling for this for weeks on the channel, where I expected we would see somewhere between 2 to 3% downside and then kind of chop around in that range for a while. Well, what happened? You fell peak to trough about 3.3%. Now you're back almost to a new all-time high. You're only off of a new all-time high by about a half of 1%, but I'm expecting the chop. Now, could we rally to new all-time highs and just soar higher again? Sure, that's not out of the realm of possibilities, considering just how what I think good markets look, right? I think the economic backdrop is okay, not great, okay, enough to give us rate cuts, but not enough to induce larger fears of a recession. We have a bunch of Fed cuts coming here soon, hopefully for the right reasons and not for the reason of the economy weakening, okay? Big, beautiful bill. There's a lot of very positive stimulative provisions within that. But again, you are butting into a seasonally weak period for markets. Really, over the next month and a half or so, you do struggle with those weak seasonals. Now, individuals like Tom Lee, other prominent figures in the investment community have came out and said, hey, August is going to be another good month for stocks and expect new all-time highs. So surely I wouldn't bet against that right now. But I don't have super high expectations for the next like month and a half. I think things start to look a lot better heading into 2026. From really the second half of October through November and December, there's going to be a lot to be bullish on. And that's when I'm expecting a larger breakout rally for something like Tesla. Now, in fact, today you came up to this downtrending resistance line, found some resistance here, okay? On the high side, that was around $335 per share, but you did break that before getting pushed back below it. So I do see that as a positive, all things considered, but there was some weird news today that we need to talk about. Donald Trump essentially said that if the courts shut down his tariffs, we're risking a depression, which I don't know what or where that comes from. And I can't really put any numbers to it because logically it doesn't make sense, but it could do one thing for sure, depression or not, which I think that's kind of a far cry from what would really happen. Okay. It could definitely raise uncertainty and prolong the tariff talks. Okay. Most people have the expectation that trade deals are going to be done by the end of this year. Problem solved. 2026 is going to be a year where we can really focus on earnings and focus on AI and focus on XYZ and not be focused on trade negotiations anymore. If the courts do shut down Trump's tariffs, which honestly, it sounds like the courts are probably going to do, I wouldn't be surprised over this weekend, just based on the post that Trump made today. That could definitely create some, again, uncertainty. Now, from a numbers perspective, from an economics perspective, the only real negative thing that I could see from shutting down Trump's tariffs, in my view, is the fiscal situation. See, when the big beautiful bill was passed, for about 2 days, the bond market freaked out a little bit. They said, oh my gosh, the deficit is going to be increased and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure you guys remember that, right? It was like the 2 days following the passage of the big beautiful bill. Well, Wall Street forgot about that, didn't care about that anymore, and that's not top of mind for investors at this point. People are giving, AI the benefit of the doubt that we will be able to grow to make the debt not as important, right? If the U.S. economy were to double in size today, if the debt stayed the same, right, or even grew maybe a little bit, you'd go from a 7%, debt to GDP ratio, right? It's like 130%, something like that. And you'd half all of these numbers, right? That'd put us in a much better position, right? That's if AI were to, take off and blah, blah, blah. But Wall Street has kind of looked at these tariffs as a way to maybe offset some of the deficit spending, okay, within the big beautiful bill. So you could have some fiscal nervousness around tariffs being paused, but I think it would be a much larger positive than Trump thinks, okay? Because if tariffs were to go away beyond the uncertainty that I'm sure markets would have, you're going to have a situation where earnings growth becomes a lot clearer, right? Companies are doing okay with tariffs, but without tariffs, they're going to do even better. So profitability looks better for the markets in that scenario. You're going to have, again, no inflation. It's going to allow the Fed to confidently cut rates a lot more, maybe at every Fed meeting for the next 8 Fed meetings. If I were to imagine, like many Fed meetings in a row, we would likely see rate cuts. That could really help boost the consumer consumption and credit growth in this country, which is, not exactly a super bright spot in the last couple of years, considering where interest rates are. And overall could fuel some of those high beta stocks. It could fuel a stock like Tesla to outperform, small caps to outperform, so on and so forth. I think you're still going to get companies that are going to commit to build in the US because, again, no matter if the courts shut down the tariffs or not, there's going to be pressure on corporations to, build domestically, right? I don't think that's going to go away no matter what the courts do or say or rule. So I don't think a lot changes from that perspective. I think there would probably be countries that still want to come to trade deals. So I don't know where Trump's depression warning comes from on a numbers basis. Beyond the initial uncertainty that would cause potentially for markets, I think stocks would respond very positively. Again, anything's possible, and short-term reactions are very hard to predict, and I think this one is especially hard to predict. Like, in theory, stocks should love that news, but would they? Would the uncertainty outweigh the positive? Would dragging out trade negotiations be a negative? Probably, but again, the better backdrop to inflation, earnings, economic activity, you'd think it would be positive. But we do have to talk about this because there would be a chance that it could be taken as negative. Although I'm not really under that view, and I don't know where Trump gets the whole depression argument from, but that's my take. Now, I think beyond the initial what could be negative or positive reaction on that, and don't be surprised if that ruling happens over this weekend and we're reacting to this on Monday, and that's why I'm talking about this here in today's video. I would expect Tesla, and again, your high beta AI areas, to do exceptionally well. And I do think by the end of this year, we're going to be in a situation where Tesla stock is either in the 400s or probably right around where it is today. Now, what's funny about that is the options market is pricing in Tesla stock around $390 by the end of this year, or as low as, $220 per share. Basically pricing in like a $70, $80 move between now and year end. I will take the former on that. I think Tesla stock is going to make that move to the upside because I do think expectations are far too low. I think retail is far too bearish. And I think hedge funds and institutions probably have a good idea of what is going to be coming over the next couple of months. Hence why they're covering on short positions, why they're adding so many bullish options, bets. I think they are understanding now that robotaxi is going to scale a lot faster than people think. And next year, we could have thousands of robotaxis out on the road, even if they're not robotaxis like in San Francisco, they're ride-hailing, platforms. Well, that, I think, incorporate what cities, are not going to allow robotaxi, but ride-hailing, and you're definitely going to be looking at thousands of mobility vehicles that Tesla is offering next year. Now, I also think as kind of a small little tidbit to put in here as well, these 100+ Model Ys that are going to be operating in San Francisco in the coming weeks, they're going to be using FSD to some, for most of the ride, from my understanding. How many people you think are going to get in those, Teslas and say, wow, I need FSD for myself. I need to buy a Tesla and get FSD, right? And that's obviously a very high margin business for Tesla. And really, just to sum all this up, as rates fall, people start to extend time horizons. So right now, I think Wall Street is kind of looking at Tesla, over the next 6 months, what's going to happen. As rates come down, we'll start looking at like the next year, the next 2 or 3 years. And at the pace in which Tesla plans to scale, buying Tesla stock around the 330s today will be a steal of a deal if you're projecting out the next 2 or 3 years and what the business could look like. So I'm very optimistic heading into the end of the year. If we do get any downside from the news that could come out over this weekend of Trump's tariffs being canceled by the courts, I think any downside reaction on that news would strongly be a buying opportunity. There's no other way to put it. I don't think Trump is correct. I don't think that is what is going to cause a depression. That's hard for me to get behind. Okay? And hey, maybe if stocks go up on that news, maybe Trump just completely backs down from tariffs. We'll see. Let me know your thoughts on all of this down below in the comment section. Just wanted to get on here and share my thoughts for Tesla stock over the next couple of months. So hopefully we are now at least all on the relative same page. Tesla stock really over the next, 2 weeks is either going to break up or break down from here. And it could coincide with the courts and the tariff news. So let me know your thoughts on all of this down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. If you have not done so already, check out that link down below in the description of this video. I personally have over $77,000 in one single stock in that trading community. A very high conviction trade. I at least give it a 10x over the next 12 months, but that thing could go a lot more than that. So yeah, not a recommendation, not financial advice, but we are definitely putting our money where our mouth is at. Yes, and I screenshot everything. I send alerts every time I buy, sell, trade, stock, options, crypto, anything, any moves that I make in my portfolio, I share them with you. And we have full analysis and research, and come get all the information you need over there on any of these different stocks. And again, we're taking a 1 to 3 year time horizon on these, so they're not like day trades or necessarily swing trades. A lot of them are with a medium term time horizon. You gotta give markets time to catch up to the information that you already know, right? We know this information. We know what these companies are gonna be doing, next year, but Wall Street just doesn't. Gotta give it some time, and that's why we take a medium term time horizon outlook here. So again, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Have a great weekend, and I will see you in the next episode.